Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy So, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you already subscribed, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that like button. Drop a comment on this video as I bring you my next guest, the gentleman of violence, Mr. Tom Shoaff. Thank you so much for joining us here, brother. How are you?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Before we get started, let the people know where they can find you on all the social media platforms.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's pretty basic. Facebook is just Tom Shoaff, and then Instagram also Tom.Shoaff. And that's really it, man. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Snapchat, not on TikTok or any of that nonsense. So Facebook and Instagram, Meta's got me.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And it's enough. I feel like that's enough. When you have too much
Right.
social media, it can kind of drag you down, especially in the business that you're in, man.
Yeah.
This bare knuckle fighting business, it's not something for every person who thinks that they can fight, right? Like there's plenty of different disciplines. There's boxing, MMA, jiu-jitsu, there's all types of stuff, but bare knuckle is different. And your nickname goes perfectly with it. The gentleman of violence. You got the mustache, you got the look. How did you get into bare knuckle fighting?
Well, man, so I originally started as an MMA fighter. I was 11-4 in my MMA career, and but I was always a striker. You know, I grappled because I had to. I learned jujitsu and I wrestled and stuff like that because I had to. But my bread and butter was always striking. I always really enjoyed striking. And where I was in my career, like I said, I was 11-4. 12-4 is pretty good. 11-5, not so good.
Right.
And I was on a 3-fight win streak, so it really needed to ensure that my next fight I got another win. And I was only a purple belt, so I decided to kind of take a step back, focus on my grappling. That way, I could continue my MMA career. And then bare knuckle happened. My buddy AJ, who's the heavyweight world champ right now, he won the first tournament, got the world championship. And when I was there to corner him for the first show, I just fell in love. So I was there for the first show, and I took an opportunity to fight on the second show because I figured I could do this. I could make money, still work on my striking, and still get better at my grappling. Well, I was a purple belt when that happened. I got my black belt last month, and I've yet to have an MMA fight since then. So, bare knuckles just kind of been, my calling. It's what I call home.
Yeah, man. And like for a lot of guys, they're fresh into bare knuckle fighting, right? But you being in that lightweight division, you have a lot of fighting experience, like you mentioned, but you also have a lot of fighting experience in bare knuckle. You've had 7 fights. You're on a three fight win streak, and those 3 fights have all been impressive, which is what led you to get the shot here with the title facing Lewis. Let's talk about a little bit over that first fight that started the win streak over Nathan Mitchell. I noticed that you like to work the body line all 3 fights against Nathan Mitchell, Josh Wright, and Bruce Lachmito. You always tend to work the body. You like to let your opponent kind of think that they have the advantage, which brings them closer to you, and then you get to exploit them. How does that work into your game plan on a regular basis, which is different from MMA?
So, me being a long guy, I typically have reach on most of my fighters, with the exception of Nathan, who I had to get inside on because he had a longer reach than I did. I mean, most of my other fights, I'm going to have the reach on guys. So they're going to want to be closer and they're going to want to be inside. So I tend to use a lot of my reach and my range and my distance to force people to get close to me, to force them to be where they think they're comfortable. But I'm just as comfortable there. I mean, if you watch my Diego Garijo fights, I tore his body to shreds for 4 rounds before I finished him. In the second fight. First fight, he got me. But in the second fight, and the body work is going to be, Teddy Atlas said, it's kind of like putting your change in a piggy bank. It's just, you're just storing it for later. And that's all that body work does, man. And when you don't have gloves, so those shots aren't padded, those knuckles get into places that a glove will never get into.
Absolutely.
And you can see it in the fights, man. It shocks people. It shuts them down. It slows them down. And, it's just, it's a crucial part of fighting, being able to breathe and move. So when you take that away from somebody, they're not going to be able to fight back. So.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, man, because it is what Teddy Atlas says, right? You're really investing in the length of the fight. Yeah, 2-minute rounds, but those 2 minutes can last forever when you're actually in there fighting, right?
Yeah,
so the rest is
surprised how many punches you can throw in 2 minutes, So if I land 50% of those and 25% of that goes to your body and the other 75 to your head, not only are you cut to shit, but now you can't breathe. That makes
Correct.
the rest of my day a lot easier, you know? So I tend to pull away from the power. I tend to pull away from overworking the head and, you know, try to mix it up on the body and utilize my speed and my length. And it's worked to my advantage this far, man.
Absolutely. You've had a very impressive 2021. You started off 2022 with an exciting win over Bruce. And that fight was like a little bit of let's really see what Tom has, right? Because
Mhm.
you've had those experienced fights where you got that revenge against the first guy you lost to, but then you started to build up that momentum. Talk to me
Mhm.
a little bit about your mental approach going into that fight with Bruce and what you were thinking heading into that to kind of give you this shot for the title against Lewis.
So I had kind of not kind of an upside down record. I had an upside down record before I went down to 155 pounds.
Right.
I was 1-3, and when you watch the fights, you'd never know. But that's kind of the upsetting part, you know. Like everybody remembers the fights, nobody really remembers who wins. But moral of the story is, I was fighting at 165, 170 pounds, and I was just fighting at the wrong weight class.
Right.
And I knew that I had what it took to be a champion. I knew what I had, that I have what it takes to be great. But I had to be fighting at the right weight class. So once I made the trip down to 155 pounds, I said, you know, just give me the opportunity to prove that I can do this, that I can be the champion
Mm,
that you guys, you know, want me to be. So you know, I got the right fights, and I was able to go out and to finish those fights in devastating fashion. And you
mm,
know, it's just proved to me and to everybody else that, you know, even it's not how you start, you know, it's how you finish. And how I'm finishing is, you know, I plan on retiring as a champion, you know, so I'm going to go out there and I'm going
mm.
to beat Luis on December 3rd, and I'm going to take my title home, and I'm going to hold on to that bad boy until it's time for me to hang him up.
That's awesome, man. And you mentioned taking the belt back home. You hardly get a chance to fight in your home state of Oklahoma. You seem very comfortable going to your opponent's backyards, facing them head on, saying, "Bring your best, because I'm here to take it, and I'm here to give you my best."
Yeah, you know, when they offered me the fight in Peru when we were
Oh,
supposed to
really?
be going to Peru. Yeah, and I said,
That's
great,
awesome.
you know. Yeah, well, you know, and it would have been awesome. But what I told him was, I said, you know, like, why? You know, he
Mm,
hasn't been to Peru in years. His family's not there. His friends aren't there. Like, let's go to Florida. Put me in his hometown. Put me in
mm,
front of his friends. Put me in front of his family, and let me smile and wave at him with his blood all over my hands as I walk away with his belt. You know, like I am no stranger to enemy territory, and I'm no stranger to going into somebody else's backyard and taking what I feel is mine. And
mm.
that's what I'm gonna do, you know, on December 3rd. You know, no, I don't have an opportunity to fight here in Oklahoma. Probably because I would say it's just because it's not sanctioned. You know, if things get
Right.
sanctioned here and things work out, and we have fights here, then you guys can come into my backyard and try to take my title, and I'll defend it, you know, just the same. But yeah, you know, for me, this is my job. This is what I do. I've
Mm,
had to travel and go to different places and fight people all over. You know, when at BKFC 4, you know, I went to Mexico to fight as Team
yes,
America when Donald Trump was the fucking president, fighting Team Mexico. You know, so like if that doesn't make you jitter a little bit, then you know, I mean, not much is going to. So for me to go
for
to
sure.
Florida and fight Luis in front of his friends and family, great. Sweet. I want as many of your friends and family there as possible to witness this.
I
That's how
feel
I
like
got it.
I feel like that's the right attitude to have, Tom. To be honest with you, man, because you're obviously facing a formidable opponent with what Lewis has accomplished and in this fight game and in BKFC. But in order to take the belt from a champion, you have to have that attitude of saying, you know what, I'll meet you wherever, whenever, and let's just get it on because I feel like
Yeah,
my talents are better than you. Now, I wanted to
absolutely.
ask you something. Usually, when you knock down your opponents, I notice just a little, I don't want to say weird, but it's very intriguing to me. You tend to go to the edge of the ropes, right? Because it's not a square rope. You go to the edge of the rope, you put your hands up, and you stare out into the distance. What
Mhm.
goes through your mind when you put your opponent down and you're not really focused on how they're trying to recover, what they look like? You just look like you're focused on yourself. Where are you mentally when that happens?
Well, a fight's not over until the ref says it's over. You know,
Bingo.
so I can hit him and I can drop him and I can put him down. But chances are, you know, if they're an athlete or if they're prepared, they're going to get back up. If they're in good shape, they shouldn't be too rocked. You know, they should be able to get back up and keep fighting. At no point do I want to assume the fight is over.
Mm,
So when I drop my opponent, I walk to the opposite side of the ring and I put my arms in up and I wait, you know, and the ref says turn around, you know, let's go. Well, then it's time to go back to work. If
Mm.
I hear that bell and the ref says fight's over, all right, well then my job's done, and we can keep going. But for me, it's just it's my way of staying focused,
Mm.
staying in the fight, so to speak,
I like that.
without jumping to conclusions and assuming that the fight's over. There are guys in this sport that have heart. They've got
For
a lot
sure.
of heart, and you got to put these guys down, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and sometimes even then it's not enough. I've seen a couple of guys get dropped 4 or 5 times, come back and win. So it's never a good idea to just assume that the fight is over, and that's what I'm doing. Is I'm just trying to keep myself focused and in the fight.
That's so smart, man. Honestly, Tom, because like a lot of people tend to lose that focus, right? That they tend to see how their opponent is doing, or if to see if they can get some type of reaction from them or their corner or something like that. For you to be able to keep your focus and tune out literally everything else that's happening at that time, except for whatever the ref is telling you. It shows how much in tune you are with this sport. That's why I told you when we were starting this, man. I feel like you're built for bare knuckle fighting, man. Like
Yeah, man. Well, I
you're
appreciate
built for this,
that,
man.
man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Because like I said, I never see you too high or too low. And a perfect example of that was the fight you had with Josh Wright. It was a battle. You guys literally went at each other. You know what I mean? He wasn't afraid to stand in front of you. You weren't afraid to stand in front of him. And that was literally a fight, like you said, where you had to knock a guy down 3, 4 times in order to put him away. And every time you did, you stayed focused and you kept your game plan on track. And I love that about you, man.
That's what you have to do, man. If you expect to get anywhere in this world, you got to be focused on it. So
Mm.
that's what I try to do while I'm in there.
Awesome, man. I can't wait to meet you in person, bro, because your energy is dope, man. Like I said, you have that bare knuckle vibe, like the mustache, the tattoos. Like even sometimes when you stand in that
Yeah.
old school style,
Oh,
man. And
yeah,
I'm
bro.
like, yo, this is it.
Like I said, man, it's a style, it's a look, and it works for me. So I'm just I'm fortunate that the mustache gods gave me one of these beautiful bad boys, and I'm able to represent the image well.
Absolutely, man. I'm a little jealous. You can see right there, it doesn't get too much action, but
That's
you're
all right.
representing well.
That's all right. You got the chin strap. You can take it.
I could take it, man. But again, I want to give you an opportunity to shout out your team. I know you guys at Alpha MMA do a lot of great work up there, and give you a chance to shout out all your sponsors and stuff like that.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, Alpha MMA is my gym. That's here in Lawton, Oklahoma. It's a Ricardo Cavalcante affiliate. We've got a handful of black belts, handful of brown belts, a
Including
whole.
yourself. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We got a whole laundry list of purple belts and blue belts, and our whole gym is full of competitors. If you want to compete,
Awesome.
and if you're from Southwest Oklahoma, that's the gym that you want to be at. As far as sponsorships go, I've got 3 main ones that I really want to focus on, and that's Vodella. They're a clothing brand. They're a big help. They shoot me clothes and finances and inspirational books and all kinds of stuff. Zach Dillard from Vodella is fantastic. He's a great guy.
Awesome.
Operation Reset. That's my buddy Brad Veal. That's a charity organization that I am working with that helps with veterans get back into the swing of things after they, come back messed up from the war. And they do things like canine training and psychological training, physical therapy, strength and conditioning, anything and everything that you could imagine somebody needing after they get back from deployment. And
Please let the people know where they can find that information, because veterans, that work that you do for veterans and veterans in general in this country need more support. So I would love for the people to get a chance to see where you guys are doing that work.
operationreset.org. That's the website. You guys can jump up there and check that out. And they're, like I said, they're a fantastic company, and they're down here in Texas. And then Imprint Construction. That's my buddy George. He's a good friend of mine. He's a client of mine. He's a friend of mine. He's a sponsor of mine. He helps me out quite a bit. Imprint Construction. If you're here in Southwest Oklahoma and you need a house built, call that man. And then I lied. There's one more that I want to give a shout out to,
Absolutely.
and that's Lemos Painting and Remodeling. My boy Derek Lemos. He's got a lot of companies, but he does some nonprofit work that's admirable. But he also has a painting and remodeling company. So anybody in the area who's looking to have their house worked on after they've already bought a new house, but they want to remodel the old one, you just holler at me and we'll get you all squared away as far as carpentry is taken care of. But that's really it, man. I don't have a big sponsor list. I tend to keep my circle pretty small, and
I like that, man.
just kind of go from there. I'm not trying to be big or rich or famous. I just want to go out and do what I love to do, and do it for the people who love watching me.
Well, I love watching it, man, and my fans definitely love watching it as well. We can't wait to see you on December 3rd in the ring, fighting for the lightweight belt against Luis Baboon Palomino, man. Tom, it was a pleasure. Can't wait to do this again and meet you in person, brother. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Soso. It was great talking to you, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. And for everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment. Until next time, peace.